welcome to the channel. I want to talk about my experience with the recent Stalker 2 from GSC Game World. When it comes to my favorite genre of gaming, it is without a doubt the first-person shooter. For obvious reasons, no other style of gaming matches the immersion offered by the FPS perspective, and it is immersion that Stalker excels at. This is the first Stalker game I've ever played in the series, and based on my playthrough, I'm looking forward to trying some of the past titles. I heard of Stalker all the way back in 2007, and because of my positive experience playing Fallout 3, I always wanted to check it out, but didn't have a PC at the time that could play Stalker. So I stored it away in the back of my head as that other Fallout-looking game that I didn't get a chance to play. Fast forward to 2025, and I've completed one of the best first-person survival horror games in existence, with an asterisk. There are some major caveats that dampen the experience wholesale, but we'll dive into that a bit later. Watching all the trailers leading up to the release of Stalker 2 was a tantalizing tease. Knowing nothing about the Stalker universe except that it takes place in an alternate reality where the historical tragedy of the Chernobyl nuclear exclusion zone was the stage of a survival-based action shooter. With the need to satisfy the FOMO of never playing the original Stalker games, I geared up, decked out, and set forth on my own walk through the zone. I played more than 200 hours of Stalker 2, trying to be as thorough as possible, and you can see in this example on screen just how much was completed. The purple markers are stashes you can find throughout the map containing valuable loot, and with the exception of 3 stashes, one of which I missed and the other 2 being bugged, means that I found practically every stash originally designated in the map. You'll find PDAs scattered everywhere that mark new stashes on the map, and I've personally found a myriad of unmarked stashes hidden everywhere. I've completed every mission to the point of leaving only the final mission, so sit back, relax, and let's travel to the zone in Stalker 2, Heart of Chernobyl. We take control of Skiff, an ex-military soldier who finds himself face to face with a strange anomalous artifact that manifests without explanation, destroying his home. Artifacts are rare objects that are produced by the zone's miraculous properties and imbues special abilities to whomever come in direct contact with them. Mesmerized, Skiff touches the artifact, skipping the story forward with him laying in the back of a truck, winding its way down a long, dark road, leading him to the outskirts of a cordoned-off exclusion zone. Compelled to discover the origins of this artifact, he enlists the help of a scientist whose motives we don't yet understand, who explains that in order for the artifact to be of any value, we need to use a scanner he invented to charge the artifact at 3 key locations within the exclusion zone. Once the artifact is charged, Skiff will be able to sell it for a small fortune and get back to his life. Skiff jumps the gate, dusts himself off, glancing back at the last opportunity to cut and run. The first impression of the zone is riddled with marvels, monumental geological anomalies that defy all physics and reality and serve as the first steps into the zone. The dark of night beckons as you enter a dark tunnel system, leading you to the bunker where another scientist waits with the coordinates we need. Stalker 2 drops you right into the most difficult encounters within the first hour of the game. Before getting to the 3rd scan point, I'd already encountered several anomalies and mutants, all of which claimed my life multiple times. The game even has the courtesy of numbering how many times you've died, as well as the cause upon death. Skiff, knowing how to handle a weapon, combined with my aiming competency, was more than enough to overcome these challenges. The guns are well animated and convey proper weight and buck when fired. Weapon handling and feedback are sharp. I played using an Xbox controller which felt responsive to micro adjustments, ensuring accurate shots. Engaging multiple enemy targets will see you negotiating recoil to stay on target while leaning out from behind cover to stay alive. I decided to play on Stalker difficulty and found the challenge adequate. Enemy AI, while being able to deal high damage, becomes very predictable by the end of the game. Outside of closing the gap between them and the player, it would become increasingly rare that a human enemy will surprise you with its movement, save for a singular bob and weave animation that some enemies use as CQC. Surviving these gunfights hinges on alternating between taking cover to heal and exposing yourself to return fire. Enemies have very precise aim and will flush you out with grenades and flanking maneuvers, keeping the player moving from cover to cover for the right moment to press the fight. With all 3 scans completed, I attract some unwanted attention from a group of soldiers. Suddenly, we're ambushed by a third-party sniper. Skiff creates a distraction, grabs the scanner, and makes a run with the goods. Were it so easy. When I gain consciousness, I'm saved by a man named Richter, a guide of the zone who discovers me and offers some guidance. He leads me in the direction of the nearest town of Zlicia, where I can begin to find out who set the ambush and hopefully retrieve what belongs to me. Making it to the first town of Zlicia will expose you to the economy of Stalker and persons and points of interest that will offer you jobs, earning you some much-needed coupons. The zone's currency. Everything in the zone is expensive. Maintaining your weapon durability or repairing armor demands help from a technician for a hefty amount of coupons. Finding a steady cash flow is one of the first pillars to overcome if you wish to minimize failure in vital moments that can mean life or death. If you're like me, then you'll find refuge within the walls of Zlicia's hospitality for the great majority of the early game. Providing a place to resupply and recoup sparked one of the most memorable gaming experiences I've had to date. Having never played any of the Stalker games, I had no idea what was going on or what was happening around me half the time. It's been a long time since a first-person shooter combined deep world building with a genuinely terrifying and immersive atmosphere, thick enough to trigger panic. I legit had to take breaks from time to time. Alien Isolation and Half-Life 2 come to mind as the last games I can remember playing that triggered the same response. In addition to the deadly radiation, the zone is littered with anomalies of various types, all of which wish to turn you inside out, impale you, electrocute you, chemically burn you, flame broil you, or sweep you off your feet and rip you apart. Learning how to navigate and neutralize anomalous obstacles are vital if you wish to survive the zone. Mastering anomalies and using them to your advantage is a great strategy. Once you're resourceful enough to master anomalies, then you'll need to contend with the bandits and factions of various groups that have formed within the zone. Some, like me, are here for their own benefit, be that wealth, freedom, or otherwise. Surviving hostile faction and bandit attacks depends solely on your ability to outperform your opponents. Noticing them before they notice you is a great advantage, and recent patches have improved stealth capabilities, especially at night. Traveling with your flashlight off will improve your chances of not being spotted easily. Sadly, beyond the color-specific identifiable garb that each faction wears, there's nothing to differentiate the tactics or fighting skills of any particular group, and I would have loved it if each faction were bespoke in their combat approaches. On the topic of progression, Stalker 2 does not use an experience-based leveling system. Instead, you level up by exploring and acquiring new and more powerful guns and equipment. From med packs or bandages to heal wounds, or food and water to drink. For better armor or ammunition, you'll need to scavenge all sorts of resources to keep your players sharp and alert for any situation. At the press of a button, Skiff will whip around his backpack for inventory management, allowing you to use or equip items. The backpack has a default weight limit of 80 pounds and can be improved by obtaining better armor or making upgrades to it using technicians. Carrying capacity can be further improved by artifacts attached to your armor using lead containers constructed using blueprints that can be found by exploration. Becoming over-encumbered will introduce a host of debuffs like slower movement and excessive stamina drain, severely affecting your efficacy out in the field, which forces players to consider what they take and leave. Personally, finding it difficult to just leave valuable items behind, I would oftentimes use hidden stashes found all over the zone where I could hide my goods and double back for them when I'm ready. You can mark these areas on the map with one of 4 markers for ease. The zone in Stalker 2 is massive, spanning miles and miles of winding roads cutting through wide open fields contrasted by abandoned complexes and derelict underground bunkers, all teeming with irradiated vermin determined to end you. You're going to find literal tons of guns and ammunition dropped by human combatants that can be either repaired and equipped or sold for easy coupons. The latter became an easy way to supplement my income, allowing me to afford provisions and repairs to continue journeying deeper into the zone. Exploring the zone is the bread and butter of the Stalker experience. You'll set out with boots on the ground, using every experience along the way as a lesson of survival as you discover the mysteries and secrets taunting you at every turn. Walking in any direction once you're released into the open world is sobering, as you're forced to hone your senses to the sensibilities of the zone. While exploring, you're always under the threat of violence, as enemies of all kinds can spring to the attack at a moment's notice. Mutant encounters present themselves as a bit of a heart-pounding puzzle as you scramble to understand the rules of engagement, particular to the discovery of every new mutant variant. Mutant threats, no matter how big or small, are always heart-pounding. From swarms of giant mutated rats, all the way to the most lethal of them all being the Chimera, each with their own attack patterns and weak points that you'll have to exploit to survive. Unfortunately, killing mutants doesn't net you anything valuable, so expending resources for mutant kills can quickly change the course of exploration, requiring you to accept making temporary detours in order to resupply or risk abandoning the mission altogether in order to make it back to base. Careful considerations are highly suggested before heading out into the zone. Use the map on your PDA to plan the most efficient route to and from your objective with minimal risk and expense. Remember, the zone is expensive, so damage taken is coupons out of your pocket. The map is sectioned off into different regions, each with their own designation and atmosphere. I spent a lot of time in the lesser zone early on, learning the ropes and grinding as many side missions and hoarding as much loot as I possibly could while gaining valuable combat knowledge with each encounter. Loot is stashed all over the place, and careful combing of Every area of the map will net you the best weapons and gear you could ever want, provided you have the stomach to search it all. By the end of my playthrough, I was able to amass a deadly arsenal of unique weapon variants of many of the available weapon types, my favorites being the Decider, a unique variant of the 4221 assault rifle, or the widely used Karad assault rifle in its underbarrel attachment options. Pair those with a sniper rifle or the Saiga shotgun and any of the several pistol options available, and you're ready for any encounter, even into the late game. Another pillar of exploration is the discovery of rare artifacts produced by zone-wide emission storms that can be used to provide buffs for your player, like additional carry weight or other advantages and modifiers that fundamentally improve your character's resilience, or you can simply sell them for an exorbitant amount of coupons. In fact, this became the best way to farm coupons. Later on, I would learn that emission storms respawn artifacts of all types, so you could frequent known respawning areas, creating a harvesting route that could easily net you between 30 to even 80,000 coupons, depending on the value of the artifacts you find. Adding together the coupons from gathering artifacts and hoarding all the guns I could collect and sell granted me a steady source of coupons to fund all my needs. The graphics of Stalker 2 are some of the best in the industry. Utilizing the recent Unreal Engine 5 technology, the team at GSC have crafted one of the best looking titles ever accomplished on the latest graphics engine. I found myself in awe all throughout the experience, stopping just to take it all in. Every region has something visually unique and relatively defining. Whether you're in an area like the Red Forest with its massive excavator, or the military junkyard of Chopper's Field with hundreds of destroyed military vehicles, or the wide open fields of the Zatan region. Wherever you find yourself in Stalker 2, the passion of the developers is obvious. Stalker 2 offers fast travel, but not while in its open world. Wherever you find yourself, you'll need to hoof it back to any of the several main settlements. Only then can you hire a guide stationed at most if not all of these locations that will take you to any previously visited faction hubs. Pistols, submachine guns, shotguns, assault rifles, and all other weapon models are faithfully recreated with exceptional textures and best-in-class animations, offering a wide array of feedback-specific animations like unjamming your gun, which has a bespoke animation for every weapon. Mutants are recreated with a visceral amount of detail, zooming in to inspect them closely as seen in Zone Slug's YouTube videos highlighting these details is evident. While the visuals of Stalker 2 are absolutely breathtaking, in my opinion, the true star of the show here is the audio design. For my audio equipment, I used a pair of Sennheiser HD650 headphones in order to use Dolby Atmos and play the game using 3D audio. And I have to warn you, the sounds in this game are petrifying, and I mean that literally. There were moments where I genuinely didn't want to take another step, just from the audio design alone. Standing there frozen in place after hearing the chilling shriek of a bloodsucker's roar. Punctuated by its heavy panting as it closes in on you is enough to send a chill down your spine. The best example of the 3D audio design I found was with the Bayuni, a mutated psychic cat that has the ability to create voices in the player's head that seem to emanate all around you.
Something's not right.
The first time I experienced this, I thought I was losing my mind, So I searched the area trying to find who was talking, but found no one until unbarring a door, unleashing the menacing beast so I could put it down, ending my psychosis. I could go on and on about the audio quality, from the sounds of the guns firing or the satisfying crunch of headshots. Witnessing the weather shift around you, clouds swelling, wind kicking up debris. It's all done so faithfully. I tip my hat to the audio team at GSC for producing such a phenomenally impressive soundscape. Before I digress from audio, I have to mention the excellent radio stations you'll hear moving through the world that play music from licensed Ukrainian artists that I found myself bopping to when grabbing something from bars or rummaging through my inventory. Mutants are the bedrock of the Stalker series and the source of all the fear that the game generates in me. You'll always need to keep your ears and eyes tuned to your environment, as anything can sneak up on you at a moment's notice. Hearing distant barks and unidentifiable growls and groans had me constantly checking and rechecking my surroundings, often mistaking tree stumps and small trees for enemies, keeping me on edge even during the quiet moments. Mutants seem to fall into three categories: deadly, deadlier, and deadliest. The first group of deadly mutants all seem to have two different variants, and I'm not sure if this is an evolutionary thing or what, but rodents have two variants, so do the canines and hogs. Either you'll encounter piles of slower rat swarms, or fast-moving, overgrown mutant rat posses. While easy to kill, can outnumber you, tilting the fight in their favor. The canine variety of mutants consists of either packs of blind dogs that aren't too difficult to deal with, but it's its cousin, the pseudo-dog, that's built different, having the ability to make phantom clones of itself that attack you as a unit. No matter how many phantoms you kill, the only way to stop the assault is by killing the host. Hogs and their mutated counterpart, called fleshes, can take some abuse before relenting. The second deadlier group of mutants include the bloodsuckers, viewers, controllers, and poltergeists. Bloodsuckers are one of the first encounters you'll face up against at the start of the game, so no introduction needed there. But in addition to being able to cloak themselves from sight and move with incredible speed, you can oftentimes find yourself in a fight with more than just one bloodsucker. My luck being 4 at one time. Viewers are short, fully cloaked, telekinetic wizards that can yeet anything in the vicinity at you. They can use nearby weapons of previously fallen victims to fire at you, and even snatch your weapon right out of your hands to then use it against you if you aren't fast enough to retrieve it. Bearers can also negate all damage for a moderate time using a telekinetic shield. Controllers are bandage-wrapped, botched experiments that can take control of the minds of anyone within range of their psychic influence. They have the ability to hypnotize large groups of zombified humans that'll defend its position while it quickly bores itself into your psyche, spawning hallucinations that attack. After eliminating the zombies to engage with the controller, try to avoid direct line of sight with the creature, as it can use a Medusa-style glare and literally pull your perception using its fists, severely limiting your ability to move or aim for a brief moment. Post-launch, controllers were given an additional attack, allowing them to emit a psychic blast that can damage you from a distance. Poltergeists. Goddamn poltergeists. I hate these enemies with a passion. Poltergeists are cloaked, levitating mutants that use different zone-based anomalous abilities like fire, electricity, chemical, and telekinetic attacks. Most of them hide away in rooms or areas that may not be immediately accessible, and it becomes a race against time and resources as you constantly avoid getting hit by anything in your vicinity. From tin cans to entire rubber tires, whatever it can use to take you out, it will. Only well-placed shots to the center of its mass will free you from its tyranny. Poltergeists by far were the most difficult mutants for me to deal with, and made me curse its existence every chance I got with maximum prejudice. Before moving on to the deadliest mutants, we need to talk about snorks and mutated deers. Snorks are crawling, leaping maniacs who can leverage jumping great heights to reach you. Mutant deers are rare, only showing up in specific areas of the map. Once they notice you, they'll let out a howl, spawning in different mutant species to assist in attacking you all at once. Which brings us to the deadliest of the mutants, being the pseudo-giant and the chimera. Similar to the mutant deers, both the pseudo-giant and chimera only appear in specific areas of the map, likely serving as a deterrent for players looking to push their luck without proper preparation. Only the most experienced stalkers with the most powerful protection and weapons should attempt to contend with these bullet sponges. Pseudo-giants use their oversized arms for incredible speed to chase you down and have the ability to ground pound, creating quakes that knock you to the ground, allowing it to close in for an attack. The chimera, while the most fortified of all mutants, relies solely on a close quarter attack, lunging at you from a great distance, using its powerful claws to slash and maul its prey. Good luck, Stalker. The story of Stalker 2 is exceptional, although it does take a long time for things to get started from the perspective of someone like me that's new to the series. Folks who have completed the previous trilogy will be treated to a story that respects and builds upon the events set up in past titles. Having knowledge of different characters that you meet along your journey in the zone will drastically change the experience, adding replay value to the game with 4 possible endings based on who you as a player chooses to align with. Similar to Western RPGs, you'll engage with characters in one-on-one dialogue segments as you make decisions throughout the story. Each of the previous games has you playing the role of a character that you'll eventually meet in your journey through Stalker 2. Strelok from Stalker Shadow of Chernobyl, Scar from Clear Sky, and Faust from Call of Pripyat. My experience with Stalker 2 has definitely enticed me to give the original trilogy a try more than a decade later. While I cherished my time in the zone, it wasn't without a multitude of blemishes. GSC has had its share of real-world political setbacks that altered the development roadmap, and you can find plenty of information here on YouTube explaining the situation, like the documentary War Game for reference. Ultimately, the team would need to relocate from Ukraine all the way to Prague to continue development. The team thanks both Phil Spencer and Sarah Bond from the Xbox team during the end credits for doing their best assisting GSC with valuable human resources during such a turbulent development. My biggest issues with Stalker 2 is the host of missing features like A-Life being completely unfinished, factions not advancing and capturing different areas of the zone for control, mutant kills not rewarding the player with anything valuable, and the multitude of game-breaking bugs plagued throughout my entire playthrough. It's very bittersweet for me knowing that I still haven't truly experienced what a Stalker game is, considering systems like A-Life and faction warring are what defined and differentiated the Stalker series from other games in the genre. Similar to what happened with the release of the now brilliant Cyberpunk 2077, I know that one day in the future Stalker 2 will be a masterpiece of a now classic series, but until that day, we'll have to suffice with the already exceptional game that GSC was able to satiate us with in the interim. The developer has teased the addition of features like possible multiplayer plans and mod support for consoles. So the possibilities will certainly improve when mod support and other features eventually arrive. Multiplayer could be fun in Stalker 2, and the lore even supports it with the Death Sport Arena, aptly named the arena found in Rostock, where stalkers battle to the death for fame and fortune. A PvP or even a PvPvE multiplayer mode with leaderboards could be a fantastic addition to the game. Mod support would grant some much needed quality of life improvements that I would very much appreciate when it's added. I'm certainly eager to check out what will be on offer there. Sadly, I lost around 20 to 40 hours of playtime and progression because of bugs, story missions, and having to replay large swaths of missions whilst dealing with immersion-breaking bugs like the now patched zoom stutter as seen here and in a few of the clips you may have noticed during the making of this video. I played Stalker 2 on an Xbox Series X in performance mode and managed to maintain a smooth frame rate while out exploring the wilderness with constant dips into the mid-50s for the majority of the playthrough, rarely reaching the preferred 60 FPS target. Where performance takes a hit is when entering towns and settlements with large numbers of NPCs present. The frame rate goes from the mid-50s and can tank all the way down into the low 40s. I had the luxury of playing the game on a display that supports VRR or variable refresh rate, smoothing the performance out and helping to reduce the perceived drops in frames. A performance patch is no doubt in the works, and I suppose once higher priority patches are out of the way, the optimization pass can be accomplished. This has been the case with most releases on the Xbox Series X. Even after the recent version 1.3 update, I'm still experiencing game-breaking bugs, and if not for my determination to find a way to circumvent these bugs, I may have just put the game down and waited for the appropriate patches. The fact that I continue playing despite the game's flaws is a testament to how good what we do have truly is. And plenty of people are elated at the sheer existence of this title. The shortcomings of this release on the technical level will turn some players away until the game reaches a more stable state. Overall, it was such a pleasure to finally play a Stalker game, and I look forward to returning to the zone. Thank you so much for making it through the video. I plan on doing more reviews on different games that I've played through. I typically like to take a completionist approach to a lot of these games, but only if it piques my interest. So if you're interested in content like this and you'd like to see what I do in the future, please like, subscribe, ring that notification bell, of course, for new content. Thank you.